Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is just now noon here in Colorado, and still a little snow on the ground, lots of mud. And today is the 22nd of December, 2018, and here we are just a few days from Christmas. Yesterday was the official winter solstice, so today is the first full day of winter. So, very good to see everybody, and greetings to all the people who have checked in so far on the chat. We have Stefan from Denmark, Lawrence, 2 Echo, I think that's the UK, and from the Rim of Hell, Boron, California. I've actually been there. And a good afternoon from Tennessee, and Merry Christmas from James, and greetings from Palestine, and good afternoon, David. It's cold and snow on the ground in northeast Ohio. Wind chill is 21. Let's see what it is here. It's 35, and the with a wind of 1 mile an hour. So let's go ahead and get started. A couple things. I have hired a new assistant. He's a local teenager by the name of Julian, and he is updating the website, trying to get the list of Ask Dave videos current on the website. He's finding all sorts of problems that I had. I'm going to have to fix a few. He looks like he's going to be pretty good. It's going to work through the winter break here, and we'll see how he's able to do after that. I need to get the Patreon list up to date. There are a number of people who contribute on Patreon, contribute the same amount every month. You can do it from $1, better for $2, because Patreon takes a chunk off $1, and on up. I even have a $50 a month patron, and that provides a lot of support, and I really appreciate that. I see we have Vancouver, Delta Oscar 5. I'm assuming the Delta Oscar is Germany. And Mark in Michigan, Vancouver. Very good. Believe it or not, I have tried to make the color on this thing a little bit more natural, but it's not cooperating with me today. I need to get better lights in here. It's a mix of a fluorescent light I have over the workbench. No, it's not fluorescent, I'm sorry, LED, that's at 4000K, and then I've got bulbs around that are about to 2700K, and then the window is pushing in light, which in the cloudiness we're having right now is about 8000K, so quite a mixture of light. I have to figure out how I can do this from the actual studio, where I've got good lights that are daylight colored. Okay, chilly Florida. Oh yes, the coldest I was ever in my life was in Florida, in Tampa, Florida, when I was in the Air Force. It was 19 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's below freezing, with Fahrenheit 32 being freezing. And I've got to tell you, it's a damp cold, and it just goes to the bone. That was before we figured out how to get our heater working. It was a little oil-burning heater, and we had all sorts of fun getting that thing to heat the house. It was quite interesting. Thanks for commenting on the antenna fix, the Cushcraft A3S. Oh, good. Good. Yes, I saw that video about that, and I'm glad that worked. From Hanover, Pennsylvania, what are some best hotspots to use with D-Star? Well, I've got one right here. I'll put it. Get that title thing out of the way. I'll put it right here. This is a Shark RF open spot. It is made in Estonia. Boy, it's not focusing, is it? Made in Estonia. It's not real cheap. There are lots of things like this, and they will work with the different digital modes, including D-Star, also with DMR. They were primarily made for DMR, but this particular one also works with D-Star. I'm in talks with ICOM right now to see if they'll send me some stuff. Let's see, Jeff Maxwell sent me a couple of Vectronics kits a few months ago. Yes, I did receive them. I haven't had a chance to do a video about them. Little QRP kits. Hanover, let's see, East Coast, couple of Vectronics. TA4 AEI from Turkey. And thank you for sending me that picture last week. I got that. Okay, it says a new shark out now. Yes, there is one. I can't keep up with all of the things that they're doing. Okay, well, why don't we start responding to some of the letters. We're starting here with the Sunday, December 9th, and I've got quite a few here, so I don't know if we'll get all the way through those or not. Okay, the first one is from Kenny Lung, KD4HQQ. And he says, I need your expertise. Built a QRP Labs QCX, and it says CQX. I think he must mean QCX, 5-watt QRP, but can't seem to get it to receive very well. Has an idea. I have an ICOM 7300 that I want to set for 1 watt output. I will run the output through a variable 1 to 86 dB attenuator and see if I can't get the signal down to the millivolts or less. Then I can pipe it into the QRP radio and start troubleshooting it. No matter how much of that you do, you're going to way overwhelm the radio. What you can do is run the ICOM 7300 into a dummy load, the 50 ohm dummy load, and then put a piece of wire to act as an antenna on the QCX, and it should pick up plenty that way. If you do the direct connection, you've got a real good chance of blowing the front end on the QCX. I also ran into trouble. My QCX is right here. This is the QCX kit. Mine is for 40 meters. The thing that I had the most trouble with was this transformer right here. Get a little bit more light on it. This transformer right here. This is T1. This is the hub of everything. And this has to be absolutely perfect for everything to work. And then you have other adjustments to make on the receiver side. And the thing has its own signal injector that you can use when you do the testing on it. And look in the section of the manual about test equipment, built-in test equipment that you can use to troubleshoot that receiver. I'm right up against the stops on a couple of mine. I found out that there was an error in the instructions that had 2 resistors flipped that caused some people to have trouble with this. So you can check those out. There are different versions of this. And one of these days I'll change those resistors so that I can get the thing to work a little bit better. Okay, next from Bob Burkett. Do you know anything about the FT2DR? I do not. I'm sorry. I don't have any Yaesu VHF or UHF equipment, just HF. This is from Bob Burkett, K5 Delta Charlie Zulu. His email is mathisfun.bob. Most technician class amateur radio operators have a handheld radio with a short rubber ducky. Yes. And are in need of a better antenna. Yes. On 2 meters, for example, I've always thought a J-pole was a significant improvement. Yes, I agree with that. Do you have any videos or source material that discuss just how much better the J-pole is over a typical rubber duck? Well, bunches. I've not done any tests of a rubber duck per J-pole per se, but when people operate indoors with a rubber duck, they've got to live pretty close to the repeater in order for that to work. If they are at any distance, they won't be able to make it work. There are rubber ducks that are longer, 19 inches. Let's see, where are we here? 19 inches. And those can be made to do a good job, but you need to step outside to really get them to work. Also, if you dangle a 19-inch counterpoise wire from the base and connect it to the, wrapped around the base of the antenna connector, you can do even better than that. But best to have an outdoor antenna for use when you're home. A J-pole is a very good one. However, I will warn you, make sure that it is grounded. The J-pole itself has a path to ground. Otherwise, you will blow out the front end of your HT, which I have done. And it was because of static buildup on that antenna, and it had no path to ground. So, promoting a work session, build a J-poles, Royal Gorge Amateur Radio Club in Canyon City here in Colorado. The issue of the J-pole actually has a little bit of a gain over a just a plain 19-inch vertical outdoors with radials. In fact, it's about 2 or 3 dB gain over that. Whereas your rubber duck, and I don't know what the rubber duck we're talking about, it's this. This is a handheld radio. It's a GD77 from Radioddity. And this is the rubber duck right here. Okay, and this is the word compromise antenna doesn't seem to really cover how bad it is. It's good outside for a mile or two, but you want to connect it to something bigger if you're going to do serious work. Usually, what people do when they want to do something more serious from inside is they get a mobile rig like this one right here. This is a Yaesu. I just said I didn't have any Yaesu VHF equipment. This is Yaesu 7800 right here. I think the 7900 is current right now. And when you have something like this, you can get more power out. It's got the right coax connector on the back. Things work out better using something like that. So I hope that helps with the J-poles. KE7-1U is still there. Haven't received any chats recently. We've got 72 people watching now. Okay, this is from Sacy Casase, who says, just got my license. Congratulations. I think technician license. And welcome to Ham Radio. I think it's just absolutely super that you've come on board. So, Sacy, just got my license, looking for a DMR radio that is Mac compatible. Okay, what you're looking for is whether or not you can find some programming software that is compatible with the Mac. Do I have any suggestions for DMR radios that have Mac compatible? If anyone has a suggestion out there, I don't use a Mac for my station. I use a little PC. I'm transmitting to you right now on a Toshiba satellite S55. Somebody see if they've got something up there that might help. Rubber duck is called that because it used to be made by a company that called their model the Rub R Duck. Okay. MFJ also sells improved HT antennas that connect direct to the HT. Yes, they do. Okay, this is from Jack Kenny. Help me understand the difference between a one-to-one balun compared to a question mark to one balun, etc. The balun, the name balun, is from a balanced transmission line to an unbalanced transmission line, or the other way around. We don't call it an unbal, we still call it a balun if it goes from unbalanced, which is like coax or anything that's working against ground, to balanced, where neither feeder is connected to ground and they work opposite each other. A 1-to-1 balun, this will take you straight from 50 ohm coax to some 50 ohm unbalanced situation, like for example at the center of a dipole. A lot of people put a balun in right there, 1-to-1 balun. I don't. I've never really had good luck with baluns and dipoles, but a lot of people swear by them. Now a 4-to-1 balun or a 9-to-1 balun or something like that is the transformer ratio on the coil. And it just simply means that you can connect, if you have a 4-to-1 balun, you can go from 50 ohm coax to 400 ohm balanced. Okay, now normal ladder line is about 450 ohms. So a 4-to-1, actually 5-to-1 dipole would be good for that. Okay, and I have a video on baluns. You might consult that. You can look it up. Go to my channel and search for balun. This one is from Remy VA3DRI. He says, I'm new to the radio amateurs world. Just watched your video on anatomy of a CWQSO. Great video, especially for a newcomer like me. I was wondering if you have the slides that you presented on this video that would help me memorize the protocol. I don't know. I may. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll set this one aside, and I'll put them up on my blog at dcasler.com. I'll put those slides up there so you can get hold of those. So I'm setting that one aside for future action. Okay. Heard of a window emulator for Mac that will run the DMR programming software. There's also a website called Mac Ham Radio, so I hope those help. That's good. Okay, this is this is labeled interplanetary ham. Excuse me. Still getting over that cold. Charles, W4AAR in Roanoke, Virginia. And thinking ahead about ham radio in the VHF, UHF bands in the context of the possible upcoming expedition to Mars, would like to think that the SpaceX Starship would, like the ISS, have an amateur radio station on board. Ground station equipment would be simpler than needed for moon bounce, since there'd be a sensitive receiver inactive. You think of the possibility or the feasibility of amateur radio operators from Earth to starships. The reason that we can hit the space station well is because it's actually only a couple hundred miles up. It's not really very far. Path loss goes up with the square of the distance. So by the time you get out, say, to geostationary satellites or very high Earth orbit satellites, you start running into real problems with signal strength. The satellites that are on Mars, they use very, very high-powered transmitters on Earth with part of the Deep Space Network. Look up Goldstone on Wikipedia, and it should give you a picture of the size of the antenna used in the Deep Space Network. They're huge, absolutely huge. They use very, very sophisticated decoding algorithms. That's called trellis decoding, that can pick the signal out from the background noise. It's just absolute miracle of engineering that we can still talk to the Voyager spacecraft, both of which have left the solar system. We can still actually talk to them at very, very low data rates. So I don't know that ham radio would be able to make it to Mars without some extraordinary power and antennas. Let's see. Okay. Drink some water with that soylent. Yeah. 73 from M0 VMT. Loved the stuff, but kind of thick. Oh, I must have mentioned some. Oh, the soylent. Yeah, it is. It's very rich. Like your videos. I get lots of information from them. Well, I would like to see you do video on the FT2DR sometime, please. I'd have to get one first. Must the feed line to a dipole remain perpendicular to the antenna, or can you run it along one leg to the attachment point to avoid a line hanging down out in the middle? Actually, it really should run perpendicular to the antenna until you get to the ground, and then have it run along the ground or something like that. If you can't do that, you can create something called a coaxial dipole. You can look that up. You'll have RFI problems with it. ISS uses Kenwood 700. ISS is the International Space Station. And here's Austin pilot Michael doing well with his local repeater with a rubber duck. That's great. Somebody from Lompoc. I've actually been there. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Terry Graham. And N6OA and K4WDY. Okay, this next one is from Peter Weston, 2 Echo 0 Delta Echo Delta, which I think is the UK. Dave, I have a question or at least an idea for another video. I see a lot of kit-based amplifiers. Yes, either Chinese or at my side of the pond, English designed and constructed. Yes, I've seen some. The one I am looking at comes with the surface mount devices already fitted and the larger stuff ready for me to install, but all of these kits do not have a coaxial relay on them, and it's something you have to set up yourself. I have Googled it, and people use these relays for antenna setups at the mast stop and at the base. Can we have a video on coaxial relays? I'd have to get one. A coaxial relay can take a coax in, and then it's got 2 coax out, and the relay chooses which one it is. And if you put that at the top of the tower, you can and you can get coax switches that have multiple connections. So you can take one nice, expensive, very low loss piece of coax to the top of your tower or wherever you've got several antennas coming together, and then switch back and forth with the switch in the shack. And you can do that with other things. For example, if you've got some sort of a setup in your shack and you only want to run this radio or run this radio or run this radio, you can set them up doing that too. I haven't used one. They're electrically switchable from a distance. I've not actually used one. They work. I mean, conceptually they're very simple. If I run across one, I'll see if I can do a video about it. Let's see. Those who can't or have trouble with the coax hanging straight down are using an end-fed type of antenna these days. Yes. In fact, MFJ sells 20-meter ZEP. It's a very nice antenna. I've tried it. It works. It is topologically equivalent to J-pole. You've got a feed section and you've got the actual half-wave antenna, and they can work very well. Okay, this is from JP in Tucson, Arizona, N7 Golf Hotel Zulu, or gigahertz. Loved your vid today on the 2104. What if you use nothing but sticks for one band, let's say 20 meters? would one assume that you have an omnidirectional dipole? Correct. Well, what you're looking at by putting those on the same band in parallel, you're going to drop the input impedance on them. You really need to feed them a little bit differently. You take two, parallel them, two, parallel them, okay, and then each of those has 25 ohms, and then you feed those two in series and you get back to 50. No, if you feed them all with the four, he's talking about the MFJ octopus antenna. I've done the unboxing. I have not done the testing yet. I did the unboxing the week before of the buddy pole, and then I did the testing of that this past week. Those have been very popular videos too. No, you're not going to get gain that way. You can't put them out in a circle. You have to stack them. Okay, so you have to, the octopus has got so it's an 80 and an 80, a 40 and a 40. These are your ham sticks, and a 20, a 20 and a 10 and a 10. Okay, this is what the octopus looks like. Now, if you were to make them all, say, 20 meter, okay, that would be the equivalent of taking these four here, okay, and these four here, all right, and it would end up being very much like a dipole. It would not have any gain to speak of. If you want gain, you need to put a pair of the ham sticks here and feed them right there. Then you need to put a pair of the ham sticks end to end but made longer, and then another one here, ham sticks end to end connected, okay, and shorter, and then you have a Yagi, and that would give you some gain, okay, but that would take 6 ham sticks to do that. It can be done, but I don't know how well it would work, to tell you the truth. Okay, and John sends his best wishes. Okay, let's see how we're doing. 9 Alpha 3 Golf Victor Delta in Croatia. Okay. Wow. Sorry, I'm not getting quite all of these. UK intermediate similar to the general in the US. Okay, cool. Just got a buddy pole, haven't taken it out of the bag yet. Scared I can't get it back in. Yeah, well, I'm going to transport the tripod stand separately, I think. Yeah, it does work. Our antenna installed our attic installed antenna is a fire hazard. Not necessarily, not if you construct them right. If you have the ends are high voltage. If they happen to be near pieces of metal and you get some sparking, that could be a problem. Just keep them insulated. Okay. Okay, this is from Peter Los Angelos. Peter Los Angelos. And it says, theoretical question, like in the octopus antenna, could a single band be made to span a wider range by adding to the end of the whip a few adjusters of different length? A hand like this with fingers of different length. I don't know. Try it, but I don't know. Are 80 and 75 general terms which refer to the same frequency band? Yeah, kind of. It puzzles a lot of new hams, this idea of referring to the bands by an arbitrary length metric. Okay, 80 meters is the band that goes from, now let's look at it this way. Okay, here's 80 meters right here, and the band is referred to as 80 meters, and it goes from 3.5 megahertz to 4 megahertz. Well, this end of the band, this band is very wide in proportion to its frequency. It's a half megahertz wide from 3.5 to 4. So here you've got about 80 meters, but down here it's actually about 75 meters. And people who use phone, single sideband, a lot on this end of the band sometimes refer to it as 75 meters. There is no dipole that will cover the entire width of the band. So you have to tune your dipole for the upper half or the lower half. It's even smaller when you get antennas like my vertical. I have a butternut HF9V vertical, and it covers a 25 kilohertz segment that I have tuned for this end up of the band. In my mind, it's somewhat deceptive to say it's an 80 meter antenna. It's an antenna that covers 25 kilohertz of a 500 kilohertz wide band. So we call 40 meters from 7 to 7.3. Okay, so people don't generally say the 7 megahertz band. What we say is the 40 meter band. And I know that usage causes no end of confusion for new hams to do that. It's just, I don't know, the way we've grown up for the past 100 years. So it would be nice to have a raw transcript of these answer videos on your website so we can search them. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to do that. Let's see. Okay, this next one is from Dave Slaughter, W3DJS. Greetings from another Dave in Atlanta, Georgia. Wanting to install my first HF antenna outside my home, a single-family dwelling, and want to know what are some different ways to route the antenna feed line from the exterior of the house into the ham shack. Let me tell you how I do it. We have a crawl space under the house. So I bring the antenna in through one of the vents for the crawl space, and then I drilled a hole vertically, well actually from the, I pulled back the carpet so it wouldn't ruin the carpet, in a corner, and drilled a hole, and then the coax can come up through that hole, and I stuff it with some wool and stuff to keep the cold air from coming in. And that's how I get mine in. Now, if you're on a slab, a concrete slab, which is probably very likely in Atlanta, then you'll have to come in through the side of the house. There are things called wall-throughs that allow you to come in. MFJ, if you have caisson style windows that go up and down, MFJ makes a very nice little strip that you can put at the bottom of the window, close the window down on it. Now you'll have to put some cotton up here to keep the cold and hot air from coming in, but it's got all kinds of coaxes going through that too. There was an article in the latest QST about a guy who used a very skinny piece of coax to go through a window, with the skinny piece of coax being so long that the high attenuation of that coax is negligible for that particular small length. So yeah, getting that through can be a challenge. Like I said, I solved it because we've got a crawl space under the house, and that worked really well. Okay, this next one is from Shivram Cigar. Hi, recently bought a GDO, that's a grid dip oscillator. And that's a piece of test equipment that was very popular in the days of tube type radios. From an older ham, it's an ANPRM 10. Okay, that's the Army Navy AN, Army Navy designator for this particular piece of test equipment, which sounds like it's probably pretty old. Got it from the Navy. When I switch it on and put it in oscillator mode, the needle deflects to the opposite side. In diode mode, it deflects the right way. When I took it apart, everything looks fine on the outside. What could be wrong? Great videos, by the way. He's Victor Uniform 3, Oscar Victor Delta, which I think is India. And the answer is, I don't know anything about grid dip oscillators. I would suggest you get hold of the ARRL handbook and look at the test equipment section. Grid dip oscillators used to be the way that you would determine whether a coil was wound properly, and if a tank circuit was tuned, and these types of things, which we don't see much in today's radios. I don't have one. Let's see. Here is Barnacle Brad, Kilo Bravo 9 Victor Oscar Hotel, going for his general at 70 years old. Great. Good for you. You'll do fine, I'm sure. I've got a set of videos for general. Merry Christmas. N3 LER in Surprise, Arizona. Merry Christmas. I'll be in Arizona at Quartz Fest in Quartzsite, New Mexico, which is, I think, like the third week in January. Saturday broadcast has become a winter must-see. Very cool. We've got 88 people watching right now. Thank you from VU3 OVD from India. Hoping you can give some insight into the logistics of contesting, how contacts are verified, etc. Is Logbook of the World the primary method of recording contacts these days? I can give you a yes on that last question. Most contesting stations are keeping an electronic log of their contest results, and the log does two things for them. One, it will output the file that they need to send in to the contest sponsor for their entry, and second, it will upload all their contacts to Logbook of the World. And so Logbook of the World, by the way, takes some perseverance to get working. I have it working. It works fine. Once you get it working, you're okay. Is just that initial little bit is not necessarily simple. The logistics of contesting, I have a video on contesting, but maybe I need to do another one. Whoops, that's, where'd it go? I had it in my hand. Oh, it's here. Okay. Christopher, do me a favor and send your question to hamradioanswers@gmail.com so it shows up in my list, and I will set that aside so that I do a video on that. All right. We're up to 97 people. Cool. Welcome aboard, everybody. I'm going through questions. The questions are the queries from Ask Dave, or a query directly to hamradioanswers@gmail.com. hamradioanswers@gmail.com. Or you can go on my website to the Ask Dave form and fill that out. This one is from Eric KN4MCE. There was a time when that would have symbolized a novice call, but that was a long time ago. My novice call was WN7AIU. Okay, so this is from Eric Udell, KN4MCE. Thanks for the great work you do. Thank you. Watching your December 15th Ask Dave video as I type this and have some feedback. First, you mentioned that you might test your ham stick in your trailer. He's a new ham, although he's an extra, trying to work HF from his 32-foot RV, but struggling with antennas. Long wires can be hard to set up, especially from somewhere without trees. Big verticals are also difficult, particularly in the desert southwest, where big winds show up out of nowhere. A hamstick sort of antenna seems like it might be a good compromise. You might look at the buddy pole, which I did just test. I pointed out in that buddy pole antenna that I had trouble with 40 meters. I've had several suggestions that I try it as a vertical. Put a 40-meter element going up and then the 40-meter as the counterpoise, or actually adding a wire as the counterpoise or something like that. And they say can get much better results because the thing's only 11 feet high, and at 40 meters that definitely makes for an NVIS antenna. It shoots straight up, so you can get local people, but not much more. Good morning. Have you tested the DL7PE microvert antenna concept? No, I haven't. Christopher, thank you for doing that. K7NWF Chandler, looking forward to the testing of the MFJ Octopus. That will actually come up not this next week because it's Christmas and we'll be out of town, but the week after that, the first week in January. Middletown, Ohio. Videos inspired me from tech to extra. Cool. Very good. Patience when coming to DX and contesting. Yes. There is a networked technical discussion on Friday night, 7 p.m. PST, and a swap net follows. I assume that's on the air. Got tech in February and have a friend that is extra. I am in his shack a lot to talk on his band coverage. How do I identify? Well, there's two ways you can identify. You can, since you're sitting in the shack of some other ham, you're going to need him present as the control operator. So technically you would be operating from his call, using his call. If you are using your privileges, then you would use your call and portable or something like that. But you would use his call if you're using... If he is the control operator sitting right beside you as you use the radio. Passed the test, bought the radio, found the repeater that is close. No one seems to hear me. I have a repeater, I have a video on new ham frustration. Go find that, new ham frustration, and see what it has to say. Basically, you need to persevere. Join the local club so you can meet some of these people face to face. They'll be more likely to talk to you if they've already met you. Official Inland Empire Communications repeater, okay. And they do a couple times weekly check in, but no answers. Yeah. The license naming structure changed prior to my licensing in '87. Had the same call since novice, technician, general, and now extra. Yeah, that's cool. Seems greetings from Maine. I've got to imagine it's a bit cold up there. We've been watching the TV news. Looks like you guys are getting a real winter. Portable flagpole that you use with your fifth wheel. That's cool. A diamond 5-band antenna with the flagpole. Cool. Okay. I'm also interested in the best way to ground things in the mobile situation. Just to the body of the RV, I guess. For obvious reasons, a deep ground is also not feasible. The problem there is you can put the ground rod in. Getting the ground rod out is another question. And you leave it in, and somebody's going to trip over it, and so on. If you get to quartzite, which I intend to do, it might be a good subject to talk to folks about. Everybody out there will be working from an RV or smaller. Yeah, I can imagine what the QRM is like. Later in the video, you asked a question about creating a DMR talk group. And he talks about how he does one. If you go to brandmeister.network, BRANDMEISTER.network, they're kind of the up-and-coming DMR place. The Brandmeister website suggests messaging their support folks to officially designated talking group. Yes, you should do that. Okay, that talk groups on DMR as digital mobile radio is becoming more and more popular on VHF. Buddy pole versus the super. You're not going to find a buddy pole for 80 meters. Thank you for the new ham video. I'm all over it. Greetings from Virginia. Installing a high end-fed 10 to 80 meter end-fed HF antenna. Saw a video putting a few loops in the coax feed line saying it would reduce RF noise. It can, yes. That's called a choke balun. You take just near the feed point for the antenna, loop a few loops of coax, kind of tie them together, and that acts as a choke balun to keep the balanced on one side and the unbalanced on the other. It's a standard technique that has been used for a long time. Okay, boy, they're coming in quickly. Greetings from Virginia. Thank you. Make a portable 6-foot ground rod goes in and out somewhat easy using my RV. Well, that's a good idea. Found the video overcoming new ham frustration. Yeah, I know the feeling. Been there. I started out that way too. This is from Renee, KD2FEL. Hi, Dave. Made a huge mistake. I connected a Kenwood V71A 2-meter 70-centimeter mobile rig and an HT with a T connector instead of an antenna switch. They both were connected to the same antenna and turned on at the same time while transmitting. Oh, so you transmitted right into the front end of the other. Hopefully you only did that with one radio, so you only damaged one and the other one's okay. But no matter how you look at it, you're going to damage the radio. Trying to figure out what I need to see if I was spared total loss, and if not, how bad the damage is before sending them out to be fixed. It may cost more to fix them to buy another radio. That may well be true. The mobile's 50 watts, the HT is 5 watts max. The price quotes I received were high. Yeah, lots of burned out front end components there. My question, will an MFJ antenna tuner with dummy load work? I'm not quite sure what for transmitter testing. I have a Heathkit 50 ohm dummy load for HF that actually is a big resistor that sits in a gallon can of mineral oil, and that's my dummy load. The problem I've had with it is that over the years the mineral oil actually creeps up along the sides and out, even though it's tightened pretty sharp. But I use it. I used it recently to test a coax that I thought might have gone bad, but it worked fine. Well, yes, or you can just use your antenna, one radio at a time on the antenna. If you're going to use a T for receiving, you're going to have to do something to keep this from happening, because it's very risky to use a T on a receiving antenna to receive on both, because if you accidentally transmit on one, you're going to blow out the front end on the other, and if you transmitted with the other, that would blow out the front end on the first. By the front end, I mean the front end of the receiver. So if you've got one of those two that's still working, consider yourself lucky. Ouch. Yeah. Okay. Loop 104, I think that's a new high for us. Loop helps cut down the common mode current. Yes, it acts as a choke balun. Really enjoy the videos. Buddy pole is a low band coil now for vertical only. Cool. Okay. This is from Russell Romine, KC5UNP. I'm a blind ham who wants to get into QRP. I do know code. I'm looking for a 40 meter CW radio to add to my Communications Go box. Well, first of all, if you have an HF rig already, a regular HF rig, I'm talking about one made by Yaesu or Kenwood or ICOM or Linko or Tentec or Elecraft, you've already got a CW radio. In fact, when I did my CW testing on the buddy pole, I used my FTDX 3000 for CW. It works great, and it's got a lot of really neat features in there for that. If you're going to get a QRP radio, my favorite is the QRP Labs QRP radio. He is working on an upgrade that works on multiple bands. This CW only. This particular one works on 40. I'm afraid Hans Summers, who's the guy who runs the place, is suffering from what we engineers call the second system effect. You make a really good first system. So when you make the follow-on to this, you want to make it better. In fact, you want to make it so better it'll do everything. And so he's running months behind because he's trying to get it to do everything. And he can't. It won't. That's the lesson of engineering in the second system effect. You're going to try and put everything in the second system. It's not going to work. You're just going to have to scale it back. And then in the third system, introduce some of the things that you want. But he's running badly behind with it, and he keeps saying he's trying new things, and that's the problem. It's the second system effect. So if you have any idea for QRP rigs, if you're looking for something that you could use that probably is very, very well supported, look at the Elecraft KX2 or KX3. I know they're expensive, but I think you'll find support out there for blind tech aids that you can use with that. Talk to other users. There is an organization called Handy Hams for handicapped amateur radio operators, and if you'll find their website, there's probably a number of good ideas that you can try that are mentioned on the website. Use a homebrew buddy stick. Yeah, get rid of that T. Man, throw it as hard as you can. Used a homebrew buddy stick. The buddy pole can be turned into a buddy stick just by putting the element vertical and running out a counterpoise on the thing. And I do have a video on a buddy stick. And Augie sent me his buddy stick so that I could test it. So there's a video on the buddy stick. Look forward to seeing it at Quartz Fest. Yes, I'm looking forward too. T is not an antenna switch. Yes, I know. What happened to your case for the QRP radio? It is right here. This is the case I have for the QRP radio. I had some trouble with the power connector right here. It broke. The wire got bad and broke, so I took the wires out and tinned them and put them back in there, and I just haven't put it back in the case. Sorry. I need to do that because when you're carrying that around, this is a fabulous little QRP kit, but as I said in my review, it is not case friendly. If you'll notice here, the two buttons, this one is higher than this one. They're not the same height. You've got these little buttons down here. What he suggested doing, Hans, was not mounting these parts and putting them on a case, but then you have the problem with the display. And so how do you get the display in it? So this case is designed to go in like this, and the knobs come through, and there's little buttons that you can push, and this thing even goes so far as to have the little built-in key available to you. Hans Summers also sells a German-made case that's metal that has little extenders for everything, but it doesn't allow access to that little key, which I think is a real shame. I should address this, but the video is looking very red. Yeah, I know. Last week I had much better color balance on this thing. I'm using little webcams for the live feed, and the problem I have with them is they're not like regular cameras you can control really well. So I do have good cameras, but I have not yet figured out how to turn that into a live feed. And I've got a studio too where I've got good lighting. This lighting right in here is a mixture of the LED, which is at 4K, the other LED bulbs, which are about 2.7K, and open window. It's cloudy outside, so that's about 8K. It's just a mixture. I've got another light, a portable light. Maybe I should bring that in here. Okay, I just watched, this is from Steve Course. I just watched your video on the octopus antenna and have a question. Note that this question is mostly academic. I'm not planning on testing it. Since the SWR dip for any given band appears to be fairly narrow, would it be possible to turn it into a dual band with 2 times band 1 and 2 times band 2? In that scenario, for a single band, could the 2 pairs have differing SWR minima? How about turning it into a single band antenna with 4 separate or overlapping dips? SWR dips, from Stephen. I don't know. I don't have enough of the ham sticks to really test this. I am anticipating I'll be able to cover, let's see, they sent me ham sticks for 80, 40, 20, and 10. So I'm going to try all of those. I have a feeling the 80 meter band will only give me about 25 to 50 kilohertz max. The 40 meter band, it'll probably cover half the band, and at the 20 and 10, or the 20, it'll cover the whole band. The 10, it will cover the part where most of the work is done, which is from 29.5 to about 29.7. 28, not 29, 28.5 to 28.7. Okay, this one is from Phil Krug, and says, "Hi Dave, many thanks for all the great YouTube videos. Practicing for my technician license and am using your videos. Well, good. Persevere. Get that license. With my eye to the future, one area of interest to me is antenna systems. You mentioned having a dipole antenna a certain distance above the ground. That's half wave. Where is this ground measured from? The ground? Actually, it's not. If you've got real dry ground, the official radio ground is actually down into the ground. It could be 5, 6, 7 feet in terms of reflections and things like that. So you can try things. If I were to have a simple dipole antenna on my roof, would ground be measured from the roof or the ground? Generally the ground, unless you have a metal roof, in which case it would be measured from the roof. Now, VHF and UHF FM are almost always done vertically polarized. So when you get your license, please don't buy equipment before you pass your test. When you get your license, you're eventually going to want to put up an outdoor antenna, probably a J-pole or a vertical of some sort. Okay, let's see. What have we got here? Why can't I watch your live channel on my Roku set to YouTube? I don't know. I have to talk to YouTube. Jonathan Endersby, Dave, has lightning problems with different types. Yeah. Oh, the lighting. I thought you were talking lightning. I've got lightning arresters, but The lighting trouble is bad in here. I've got to do something about it. MFJ 17-foot collapsible whip has 3.8-24 connector. Makes a nice 20-meter ground plane with the buddy pole Versity and tripod. Huh, okay. I'll have to look at that. Enjoy the videos. I have a 2-meter, 70-centimeter J-pole and a mast, and want to also put up an HF vertical on the same mast. I'd separate them by a few feet. Don't have a problem with lighting as long as I can see you. Okay. Purchased a new AX1 antenna for my Elecraft KX3, and so far it has been a disappointment. Poor reception, unacceptable. SWR. Yeah, tweak. You may end up adding some radials or counterpoises. Studying for my general, so far getting a 77 to 80 with my answers. You know, I'd recommend you keep working on that till you're getting in a consistent 90s before you try the test. Okay, this is going to be the last one. This is from Ty Williams, W7TML, on December 16th. So we're moving along, getting caught up. I've still got a pile left for this coming Saturday. I followed your YouTube channel for a couple of years now and appreciate the hard work you put into these videos. Would like to know if it is okay to link your videos on a website that I'm running. Primary focus of the website is to create a digital presence for an ARES group that I'm trying to build. I'm finding that many hams in my area don't see the need for ARES. It's a good organization. Keep working. Persevere. I'm actually building from the ground up by teaming up with a couple other hams for classes and test sessions. It's working out great, but I want to add what I am calling an Elmer's Corner to my website when I find videos that I like from competent and well-spoken hams. Woo! I'm not going to be able to get my head out the door when we're done. I bookmark them on my YouTube site. You are one of the few hams that I can reliably say, go watch Dave. Thank you. And I don't have to worry about someone being offended or left more in the dark after watching the video. I would like to provide the embedded videos on my website. Yes. Do you have a preference? Embedded. Yes. Is it okay to embed your videos in the web pages that I'm building, or do you prefer that I just leave things as they are on YouTube only? Go ahead and embed them. Go ahead. I can easily provide links to your YouTube channel in this website. The embed code, if you go to a YouTube video and it'll say underneath share, click on share and you get a bunch of ways to share it. Down at the bottom they've got the URL, which you can use for mailing it. There's a embed, the word embed in there. If you click on that embed, it gives you a little snippet of HTML code. Just put that on your website, and then when somebody brings up that page on your website, there's my video, and I get view credits on YouTube, and the advertising revenue and so on all comes through just fine. That's what embedding is for. And I've set up my YouTube channel so that you can embed any and all of my videos. Now, downloading them and rehosting them, no. But embedding them, yes, absolutely. Okay, there's somebody called an ironic man here who is trying to stir up trouble. So, in a very dry desert, does a dipole appear higher than an antenna set up over regular soil? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Merry Christmas and safe travels to you and Mrs. Kassler with peace. What do I think of SDR, which I assume is software-defined radio? And software-defined radio is the wave of the future, and it is hitting the mainstream. One of the reasons I like this little radio, this is not a super heterodyne like most radios. This, although analog, uses the architecture of a software-defined radio. It has, well, watch the video on it. We're out of time. Okay, let's take a look. So I'm just going to say 73s to everybody. It's always a pleasure. I really enjoyed these Saturday sessions, and I enjoy interacting with the comments that we get here. For every week you don't study, you forget one day of study. Well, yeah, use HamTest Online for practice exams. You need to study 8 hours at a time. Study when you can. Study when you can. 100 hours for general and extra. That really varies a lot. There's some people who are really good at testing, and I've seen people go sit in one exam for tech, general, and extra, and they come out an extra, and then these people come to me and say, what do I do now? I would really recommend, if you can do it, go for your tech, and then general, and then get on the air. And after a couple of years, that extra is going to mean a whole lot more to you. Now, I've got a lot of videos that are, my audience that I have in my mind is new generals. People who just are getting their general or just got it or trying to get on HF. I do a lot of other stuff too here. Okay, so we've got these that we'll set aside for next week. And I wish everybody a happy holiday season. On Tuesday is Christmas. I wish all of you a very merry and very special Christmas, and everyone a happy new year. Now, the video that I'm going to be providing this coming week, since we will be out of town, will be a short one that's about this J38 key. And it kind of goes into a little bit of the history and stuff on the key. It's a video I made a long time ago, but for some reason never posted. And then when I get back, I'm going to start the testing on the octopus antenna and then do that video. And I've got a couple things lined up after that too. So, and until then, remember the tip jar, remember Patreon. Be good, folks. This is the time of year for reflection, setting New Year's resolutions, and so on. Until we next meet, 73.